What's up, y'all? This is TRU88 Podcast with their host, True Car. Today I wanted to talk about control because I think it's important to understand self-control, and I also think it's important to understand the more you have self-control and self-discipline and understanding who you are as an individual, is the easier it will be for you to have healthier connections with other people, and it will also be easier for you not to feel like you are in control of somebody else's life or in control of, or try to be in control of other people around you to make them love you or to make them respect you or to make them see your point of view. Because I think it's important to understand that everybody is not going to see life, see love, see you the way you want them to. And I think it's important to understand when you have a strong foundation within yourself, when you love yourself, when you honor yourself, when you honor your truth, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what people or how people feel about how you are showing up. And I think it's important to understand as well, when you love yourself and when you stand in your truth, you are going to irritate people's demons. You are going to affect other people that don't have self-control or that want to try to control you or box you in. And I think it's important to understand that in a space, in a sense, it does come with, when you know yourself and you stand in your truth, it does come with the consequences, the so-called consequences of losing people, or so-called losing people's respect, or so-called, being judged harshly, or other people projecting onto you confusion, or other people projecting onto you fear. And I think it's important to understand to have self-control in the space of not forcing who you are onto other people and allowing those people to project, and allowing yourself to not internalize their projections, and not putting yourself in a position to where you're creating chaos by trying to force people to understand you. Because if you want to live a more peaceful life, you have to allow people to have their perceptions of you and continue to show up as you. Continue to show up as who you know you are. And that can be hard, especially when you are around people that feel like you need them, or when you are around people that want you to need them or want to control you. But I think it's important to understand to let them think whatever they're going to think and continue to show up as you, because the more authentically you show up, it will create space for the opportunities that you need. And it might take time and it might take patience, but it's important to stand firm in your confidence and conviction with love as well, but never allow life to move you or people to move you out of, or trick you out of your spot because you don't have self-control. And I also wanted to talk about, when it comes to control, when it comes to trying to control people or situations or whatever the case may be, to understand, even if you did control them to be something that you wanted, even if you did control them to so-called protect you or make you feel safe or make you feel loved, at some point they are going to change. At some point they are going to go right back to who they were, because that's just what people do. When you don't change at a core level, when you don't actually change for yourself and you're trying to change for other people, that causes depression, that causes anxiety, and at some point you're going to want to break out of that and just be yourself. Or it might put you so deep in a hole that you can't even dig yourself out, and then you become that bitter person for other people around you. Because when you don't love yourself, when you don't stand in your truth, and you allow other people to control you and manipulate you to be something that you are not, you start to hold and bear a resentment, not only for those people, but for yourself. And that pours out onto people that you actually love and actually care about, and people that actually love and actually care about you. And it makes you feel in a corner, put in a corner, when in reality you have more power and more control over your life than you're giving yourself credit for. And I think it's important to be that leader in your own life, even when other people are looking at you like you're not enough. Knowing you are enough and standing in that truth is so important. And I think also when it comes to control, like, I remember when I was younger, when I was in my early 20s, there was a post that I screenshotted, and it said something about, if you love a flower, you won't pick it. And I didn't understand what it meant at the time, because I was young and I was like, I mean, of course, if you like a flower, if you love a flower, you'll pick it. But then I realized as I got older, if you actually love a flower, not just like it, you want it to grow and stay in a space where it is provided the most nutrient, where it is provided the most love for it to sprout and continue to grow, in a space where it's growing so beautifully that it made you stop and look and admire it. And I think it's important to understand to not let anybody come and pick you, because a flower can't speak up for itself and tell you not to touch it or not to pick it up. But you yourself, you being a flower in your own life, you can create boundaries with people that just want to pick you because you look good, or because you have what they think is great on the outside, or what they think can benefit them. And I think it's important to understand, to think of it in that way when it comes to the people that you love as well. Not trying to control them to be in your environment or control them to do what you need them to do, but allowing them to be themselves and allowing that to be either something that is for you or not. Allowing yourself to just be the admirer of the situation, and taking everything about those people or about yourself for what it is, and creating connections where you're allowed to be yourself, not only with other people but with yourself. And if you're not allowed to be yourself with people, creating boundaries and distance or cutting those people off completely is important. And I think that's important to understand when it comes to, self-control and control and trying to control other people. It should be a space where all it is really is you trying to create a safe space for you to land, for you to love, for you to feel protected, or for you to feel valued or loved. And I think it's important to understand to first and foremost feel that within yourself. And really ask yourself the question, who are you? Like, if you had nothing, who really are you? If you had no money, if you didn't have that job, if you didn't have those so-called accolades or so-called things, like, who are you without performing for other people? Really asking yourself that and really connecting to that. And if it's not something that you like, digging deep and healing those parts of you that don't feel worthy enough to feel loved, worthy enough to feel protected, worthy enough to feel safe. Because when you don't deal with that within yourself, it creates a space where you unknowingly make other people feel unsafe, unworthy. You unknowingly project or subconsciously start to project onto other people your insecurities. And I think it's important to understand, whatever you are for yourself is going to emanate off of you. It's going to pour off of you to other people, whether you purposely do it or not. So if you don't feel worthy without all of the stuff on the outside of you, when you get around people that have true authentic worth and love themselves, you're going to feel intimidated. You're going to feel a sense of unworthiness within yourself, and it's going to irritate your demons. And that's why I think it's important to understand when you do get triggered, to use that as a space to look within yourself and understand why you actually got triggered, and not just try and make that person make you feel safe about your triggers. Really ask yourself why you got triggered about a situation, because the more you do that is the closer you will get to really knowing yourself, and also being in a space of having self-control with your emotions as well, because not every emotion or every trigger should you speak up on or go to that person and make them feel like they should make you feel better. Because sometimes that person just needs to be left right where they thought they had you at, and you won't know that if all you do is react, especially when it comes to people that do reactive abuse to try to make you feel unsafe or unworthy or unvaluable. The more you feed into that and give them your energy, is the more you are telling them that they are right. And I think it's important to understand that they are not right. You deserve to be protected. You deserve to feel safe. You deserve to feel nurtured. And anybody that makes you feel anything other than that deserves to be out of your life or distanced from, if you don't have the so-called control to remove yourself at that moment. No matter who it is, I think it's important to understand that if you're in a situation where you feel like you don't have control, or you feel like you're boxed in with those type of people, it's important to understand what you do have control in those moments. You do have control over how much of a conversation you have with those people. You do have control over how much you give to those people energetically. You do have control over the time and the space when you are alone and those people pop up in your head. You do have control to breathe in and out and release those people's energy. You do have control over saging yourself and saging that energy off of you. And if something really bothers you, you do have the power and control to also know how to speak up for yourself and start expressing your emotions. But I think it's important to understand, when it comes to people that act weird or do weird things to you to try to make you feel imbalanced, noting that in removing yourself in silence as well. You don't have to tell everybody your next steps or your next moves, because you don't know what those people are doing behind your back, trying to manipulate the situation in their favor. And so when you don't have self-control and you just say, oh, that's why I'm going to leave, and that's why I'm going to, do this to you, or whatever the case may be, now you put yourself in a vulnerable position with people that don't know what to do with your vulnerability, but make you feel even more unsafe. And I think, or even more unprotected, or even more uneasy. And I think that's why it's important to understand self-control and learning how to express your emotions, or learning how to release and let go of things instead of projecting or trying to control somebody to make you feel safe. Because when you do that to people, that puts them in a position of feeling some type of power over you that they don't deserve to have over you, because they don't even have self-control within themselves. So what are they going to do with the power that you gave them over your emotions and over your time? They're not going to do anything but play on it, because they don't know what else to do with it. They're not going to do anything but make you feel unworthy, because they feel a sense of unworthy and they feel a sense of imbalance within themselves. So how can they do that for you when they can't do it for themselves. And I think that's important to understand. You can't control anybody to be anything that they are not. And the more you try is the more you're going to feel unsafe, unworthy, or whatever you're trying to get from that situation. And at some point it's just going to blow up to where you have to see that they are not the person that's going to give that to you. And nobody else is either if you can't do that for yourself. And even if somebody else does come along and they're able to give that to you, you're going to realize that you're still not going to feel it the way it's meant to be felt if you can't feel it within yourself. If you can't internalize self-worth and self-love, you're not going to be able to cherish when somebody else does that for you. And I think that's important to understand. So understanding self-control and understanding what you have control over is what creates that peace within your life that you're looking for, or that stability, emotional stability in your life that you're looking for. Because the more you try to force other people to be there for you, is the more unstable you're going to feel internally. And I think that's important to understand. And also understanding how to do the inner work for yourself to do those things, like looking up. It's so many YouTube videos on how to really align with that. And I also have an ebook that y'all can check out if you want to, and I'll put the link in the description down below of this video, that teaches you and aligns you with how to find true peace in any circumstance, in any area of your life, when you're going through it, when you have to be around people that want to make you feel uneasy, or when you have to be in this chaotic space of people trying to trigger you or take from you, or whatever the case may be. The ebook that I wrote myself really guides you through that and teaches you how to call your power and your energy back. And it also has meditations in the ebook that can teach you how to be more grounded and be in a space of being able to protect your energy, but not only protecting your energy, but calling your energy back, and being in a space to be able to forgive those people and to forgive yourself as well. And so if y'all want to check that out, I am going to put it in the description box down below. It's called True Bliss. And the reason why I called it True Bliss is because a lot of people think ignorance is bliss. And for me personally, I think knowing the truth is the true bliss. Knowing and understanding what a situation is and still being able to provide yourself a sense of peace is the true bliss. And I think that is so important to understand, and that's why I called my ebook True Bliss. And because it's in a space of being able to see things for what they are, but also being able to be in the present moment and being at ease with the situation, no matter what it is trying to bring you or what it is trying to project on you. Understanding how to not internalize it, but creating peace and keeping peace within your life. And so if y'all want to check that out, make sure that y'all hit the link in the description box, or go to my Instagram or my Facebook, and the link will be in the bio as well. But yeah, I think it's important to understand how to create peace within your life, and how you do that is by having self-control and understanding that you cannot control people. You cannot make people be anything for you. And also understanding in that same token that, because I remember when I was younger, I was in a relationship, and it was my last relationship about 8 years ago. And I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, I don't want to be controlling in this relationship. I don't want to make her be anything that she is not. But I also remember realizing that that didn't put me in a space of not being hurt either. And I think it's important to understand that understanding your self-worth and your self-value, and understanding that no, you don't need to control people, but you also need to know your non-negotiables in relationships as well. Understanding what truly you need in a relationship, and understanding that you can walk away and not allow other people to project onto you that you're trying to control them because you know your worth and your value. Because when it comes to control, right, there's a difference between controlling somebody and understanding what you need and just walking away. For example, right, if you're in a relationship and a person is dressing a certain way, that is a you thing, right? That's your insecurities if you feel some type of way about a person dressing some type of way. That's a you thing, and you might need to find, even in that situation, find somebody else or find yourself in that situation and connect to yourself and understand why you feel so insecure about people just being themselves and dressing the way that they want to dress. But when it comes to being in a relationship and understanding that that person is disrespecting you by texting other people or making other people feel like they have a chance with them, at that point that is crossing a boundary, right? And in that token, you don't want to go in that situation and be like, I want you to stop texting these people because it makes me feel this way. And so then they stop for a little minute, and then you see them doing it again. There's a difference between controlling somebody and knowing your boundaries. So if you say, hey, this makes me feel this way, that's you expressing yourself, that's you expressing your emotions. And the boundary is set when you understand, okay, if they do that again, I might need to walk away because this can be something that can really hurt me in the future. But you controlling the situation is you seeing that and you telling them, you better stop texting them. And then they text them again, and then and then you continue to tell them that, and you continue to try to control them about the situation. That is being controlling. And I think that's important to understand what is controlling and what is you just understanding what you need as an individual. Understanding that if it's just who they are and you're trying to change them and manipulate them, that is you trying to control them. But if it's something that you know is going to hurt you, then you walking away is not controlling them. You know what I mean? Like, for example, like if it's just them being authentically themselves, you have to put yourself in a position to understand if you should walk away or not try to control them into being shaping and molding somebody into being what makes you feel safe. It's important to shape and mold yourself into what makes you feel safe and create that for yourself and understand your non-negotiables. And when that boundary has been crossed, respect yourself enough to walk away. If something really is affecting you, or respect yourself enough to speak up as well. Or respect yourself enough to move in silence to get away from that situation, or move in silence to release those connections as well. But yeah, this is Tru's Podcast with your host, True Car. Make sure that y'all like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure that y'all buy my ebook as well that gives you clarity in a space of chaos and learning and connecting to your peace and cultivating peace within your life no matter what is going on in your life. Make sure y'all check that out, and make sure that y'all like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next podcast.